A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Dear brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum. My name is Shuaib Khan and welcome to Maxafter.com's another exciting tutorial. Well, this is what we'll be doing in this tutorial. As you can see, the layers, they flip and make up a box, which is very easy to achieve. So are you guys ready? Let's start the tutorial. Let's first start by creating this box. For that, we'll go and create a new composition. We go to composition, new composition. We'll adjust the size of this comp according to the box, according to the front of the box, which is 250 width and 450. And let's call this box composition. And 10 seconds, just leave it like that and press OK. Well, we got our composition here, and let's go and create a new solid by going to layer, new solid, and we'll call this front, and also it has to be the size of the composition as well, so it has to be 250, and press OK. So this is the front now, and we need the other sides as well. For that, we'll duplicate this layer. We'll go to edit, duplicate, and press enter. We'll call this back. Again, we'll go edit, duplicate, and press enter on your keyboard while it's selected, and we'll call this side. Right, now the side is of course thinner than the front and the back, so we'll adjust the size of the sides. For that, we'll go to layer, solid setting, and we'll change this to 120, and also change the color so that we know what we are doing. So now this is your side. So now we've got the front, back, and the side. Let's turn on the 3D for it. So all these layers are now 3D, and press R on your keyboard and rotate it -90 in Y direction, and make sure that the arrow is pointing outwards, because if you want to map any text on it, the map will be mirrored as well if it's the wrong side. And let's go and move this to the corner. Okay, we can do this perfectly by going to the other view, click here and go to top view, so we know what's happening. Right, we are in the top view right now. As you can see that we have selected the side. Let's move it here and kind of create a rectangular box, and with your arrow keys you can do it on your keyboard. Click arrow key and towards right. You can also adjust it from here, but just make sure that it's roughly adjusted. And you can also right arrow key on your keyboard, just make sure the dot is here, touches, make sure the dot here touches the ends of the front. Right, so side is created. Now you can see this L-shaped, and okay, now let's go and take the back and move it back around here somewhere, and press R and rotate it 180 degrees, so that the arrow is pointing outwards, just in case if you map anything it will not be mirrored. Right, now let's take our side again and go to edit, duplicate, and just move it here to this corner, and press R again and just make sure that it's 90 degrees. The blue arrow is pointing outwards. I hope you are following. It's not difficult. We just created a box. This is our front, this is our back, this is side 1, this is side 2. That's it. Box created. Now if we go back to our active camera, and if we go back to active custom view, now you can see that the arrow is, and you can see that the box has been created. Now press C on your keyboard, or you can also select the camera orbit from here. So now this is a nice box that we have created. Now we need to animate this box. We're not going to create the top and the bottom because it's not showing in our camera view. Otherwise, if you like, you can create that as well. Now we need to adjust the anchor points, anchor points for the sides. the anchor point, for example, for the back is right here in the middle. If you press R and if you try to rotate it, you know, it will rotate from the middle. It has to rotate it from the bottom. Okay, for that we'll go to front view, and this is the arrow, and let's select the front one, and okay, now let's select pan behind tool, and this basically helps us to adjust the anchor point. And if you also press A on your keyboard, you will see this is the anchor point. Just press shift on your keyboard. Okay, press shift on your keyboard and bring it down here, you know. And you can just zoom in with the middle mouse wheel if you have it. If not, you can, you know, zoom in from here. Right, now the anchor point, let's select the anchor point for the back. Again, we'll do the same and bring it here at the bottom. We do that for the sides as well. We're just moving the anchor points, you know, and nothing fancy. Right, make sure you press shift. If you don't press shift, you know, it will be difficult to handle the anchor points. Right, now let's go back again to custom view, and now let's go and animate the box. Okay, let's first animate the front. Press C on your keyboard. This is the front, and press R on your keyboard and rotate it in X direction, you know. So this is the end point of the animation. So let's go forward like probably 10 frames and put a keyframe for X rotation. And now if you go back to frame 0, we'll move it, you know, down to 90, and select this one and right click and keyframe assistant and easy ease if you can't see it. Now if you render preview, you'll see, you know. Now let's animate the other ones as well. Select the back and go move forward, press R, and okay, and let's rotate it a little bit so that we can see what's happening. So in this is the X direction. Put a keyframe for X rotation at frame 10, and again move back. We do the same thing as we did with the front, and make sure it's -90. Right, and again right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. So basically it kind of, you know, when you're doing the easy ease, because it kind of rests, you know, comes to the resting point easily. Let's select the side and do the same, press R, and this time we'll change the orientation. Go like 10 frames forward again, put a keyframe for orientation and move it, you know, put 90 here, and right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. We do the same for this one, press R, put a keyframe for orientation at frame 10, and then we just put a keyframe here for, and we just change this to 270. Right, and right click, easy ease. Yeah, so this is basically our box has been made. Pretty quick. Okay, now we just want to change the position of the keys, you know, because we don't want them, all of them, to come together. Press U, press U, press U. Okay, let's say the front comes the last, you know, when it flips, and let's select the back and move the keyframe for the back, you know, at around like 8 frames, and for the side, you know, just randomly move the keyframe so that they don't come all of them at the same time, you know. You need to break the monotonous. right? You can also speed it up, you know, or slow it down, depends. So you can do that in your own time. Right, so now this the next thing that we do is we just duplicate all these layers, select all these layers, edit and duplicate, and move them on the top of the stack. Okay, and just move them forward, select all of them. So while this one's like press U, and at 10 seconds, for example, this one's forming, we want the other flaps, you know, to form as well, come to position around here somewhere. Okay, now what I'm going to do is that I will map the maps that I have designed in Photoshop on top of these layers. For example, let's start with front, and if we go to GFX, I've created a, you know, I've kind of designed a front of the box, which is this, and also the side and the back, right? Now if you go back to the box we created, what we do here is we take the front, we select the front, and we'll press Alt on your keyboards and take the front and drop on top of it. Press C if you can't see it, and then move it, as you can see. And then the back, you do the same, press Alt, select back, and drag and drop on top of the back, as you can see. And then sides, press both the sides because the sides are similar, press Alt and drop on top. So now as you can see that the animation is forming, you know, and becomes interesting. Okay, select all of them, press T, and by the time, you know, it reaches here, we want them to be 0 opacity, we don't want to see them. Okay, go back to 0 and change them to 100. Now as you can see that by the time it reaches here, they kind of, these ones, they disappear, and then the real flaps come in, you know. Okay, we go to effects and presets. If you can't see effects and presets, you go to Windows, and you can load them from here. And let's type fill, and let's drop on top of the side, and just change this to orange color, and do the same, you know, change it to some orange color, you know, let's do the same, change it to orange color. So any color that you like, you can put that color. Right, now as you can see that there's a jerk, you know, when these flaps appear, so we don't want a jerk. So select all these and press T on your keyboard and change it to 0, and put a keyframe for that, and let's go frame forward like 1, 2, 3, and change them to 100. So now if you can see, you're almost done with the box. Now what we do here is basically create the final comp and put this box there. For that we'll go and create new composition, new composition, and let's go and select HD TV 1080 24 if you can't see it, and also lock aspect ratio and change this to probably 800 or something, and change this to 0102 final tuts. Press enter, it'll come up here. Let's organize this space here. This is the box that we created. Let's select and drop it into the pre-comp so that it's in the pre-comp folder. Now if you go to final tut, it's empty, so we need to select the box. Okay, now this is my box and this is your box. It's kind of, you know, mixed up. Right, okay, this is the one that we just created. so we call this tut, and we go back to final tut and just drop it, you know, into the new comp. Now if you see that we don't get the box, and because we need to turn on the collapse transformation, you know, if when you turn it on, it'll come back to its original 3D shape, because this kind of brings all the properties that have been applied in previous composition into the new composition, you know. Now if you press C, you know, you can. Now let's go and create a camera. Layer new camera and make it 24 millimeters. Press OK, and let's change this custom view to our camera 1 view. Okay, here we are in a camera view, and press C and toggle switches. Press C again, and if you select it, you can move it forward and back from with this tool. So press C again. We need to adjust the point of interest of the camera. For that we'll go to top view. As you can see that the point of interest is here, so that's why we can't maneuver properly. Select this selection tool here, and our box is here somewhere, so this has to be here in the middle, you know. Also turn on the 3D layer for box, and now you can see that the box is there. It has to be, you know, point of interest should be there so that the camera can move around it, you know, rotate around it. Now if you go back to camera 1, now if you press C and rotate it, you know, it rotates nicely, you know. Otherwise the rotation is messed up if the point of interest is away from the subject. Right, now go to 2 seconds and select an endpoint of your animation. Let's say this is our endpoint. Press C, move it up. You need to leave some space here for the text as well. And we go and press P on your keyboards and open this up. Point of interest. So we have put 2 keyframes for point of interest and position. Select both of these and right click keyframe assistant and easy ease. Easy ease basically kind of ends the animation with an ease, you know, rather than jerky and fast. Now we go back to first position here and press C on your keyboard, and let's say rotate it here somewhere. Select Control on your keyboard and click on top of it. It'll go back to its normal position. And now if you let's rotate it right. You can play around with this and create a cool animation. Let's go and create the rest of the boxes as well. So let's say the box, you know, comes to zero, the camera comes to rest at 2 seconds, and we need to create another box. For that we'll go edit, duplicate, and press P on your keyboard, and then move forward, you know, like few frames, and just push it back in the Z space and move it. Again we'll do keyframe assistant, easy ease. Select the layer, edit, split layer. We don't need the beginning here. Now let's see what happens. Right, as you can see that the box moves towards the back. Okay, press U again and duplicate this layer again, edit, duplicate, and press U and delete this key and leave this key here. Press Control and click this layer and move forward again a few frames and move this back, you know, the third box. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. So the layer, you know, has to be, you need to split it because we can see the layer there, you know. So select this layer and edit and split layer, because we don't need from that position. Okay, cool. Right. Okay. Sometimes, when you turn on the depth of field of for this for the camera, the whole project becomes very heavy. So we can create a manual depth of field. We go to blur here, and let's go and apply Gaussian blur. And for example, let's say the blur here is 1, and put a keyframe for the blur and press U. And when it starts, it's 0. Right. We do the same for that for the third box as well. Apply the Gaussian blur, and this time we'll make it more blurrier because it's at the back. And also we need to bring this layer at the bottom, because as you can see, it's kind of coming in front of the second box. Right. Okay, and let's put a keyframe and press U to reveal the keyframes. Go back to 0 position and go back to first frame of this layer and change this to 0. Right. And this layer has to be behind the second as well. Now put this behind. Now it's kind of fixed. Right. Cool. Now let's add a background layer, new, solid. Let's call this BG. Okay, and bring it down at the bottom and just create a ramp. Change this color to blue, and just move this a little bit here. Right. Now let's go create another layer, new, solid, and call this clouds. And right here, fractal noise, and let's change the contrast here. Toggle switches and change this to screen. Kinds of gives a nice effect. And we go to evolution, press Alt on your keyboard and press evolution, and write a small expression, time times 200, so that they keep moving. Right. Also bring it under the boxes, and we don't want them too much, just a little bit, so let's go to select rectangular tool and create a mask, and click here, invert it, and press F for the mask, and bring the mask down. That's it. Just a touch effect. That's it. Cool. Okay, now let's go and create a lens flare for it. Layer, new, solid again. Make it black color. Call this lens flare. And press OK. Let's go and type lens here. Generate lens from here. You can also get this effects from here. Go to effects, select the layer, effects, and generate and lens flare. And press enter here. And change the lens type to 105 prime. Right, so the box is kind of formed here, so we'll bring, we'll put keyframes for the flare center and the brightness. But when it comes here, let's say you bring it here somewhere, brightness, press U, just bring it here somewhere. And the flare brightness, let's reduce a little bit. Right, and the other thing I did was created particles. Go to layer, new, solid, and call this particles. And we type here particles, and we go to CC particle world. Just go here and turn off the grid, and go to producer, and the radius, increase the radius and the Y and Z as well. Go to physics and change the gravity, let's move it up. And particle type, let's change this to faded shaded sphere. Also, we go to options and go to rendering and change this to force motion blur. Press OK. Right, and let's change this to screen, and let's increase the radius a little bit. Just don't want to see them too many. Just a little bit of particles are enough. Longevity to press 7 or something. Okay, and also velocity, just change to 0.5 or something. We don't want them to be too fast. Also birth rate, 1. Too many. Don't want too many. Size, reduce the size as well. Right, so we are almost done. Let's put our final text. Go to layer, new, text, and let's write here, for example, juice or something, and just bring it here. Okay, one more thing I just forgot. Select the first box here and just go and apply a shadow to it. Drop shadow, and change the direction to 190 or something, that's it. And softness to 2, and probably here. That's it. And change the color to a bit bluish, because we can see the sky there, has to be of the same color. Now press E, select the drop shadow, Control C, Control V, and again Control V. So it's applied to all of them. Right, let's go back to the text, and let's go and select this arrow button here, and if you can't see it, and go to browse presets. Right, when you browse presets, it'll open up another panel, and we go to text, and again then we go to blurs, and we select the one that says evaporate. You can see these nice animations here, pre-made animations. It's all there. Just close this one, and we'll type here evaporate, and come to frame 0 and put the evaporate here. So right now it's evaporating. Let's solo this layer. So right now it's evaporating. So press U and select the layers and right click, and if you can't see it, keyframe assistant and time reverse keyframes, so it reverses the keyframes, so now it'll basically form instead of disappearing it. So I want the text to come here, around here somewhere. Just unsolo the layer. Alright, let's start it from here somewhere. Go to character and just reduce the size, so you can change the colors to any color that you like, or if you don't want any color, just you know, check this. Let's see our final animation. So pretty simple to achieve, you know, with After Effects. You know, this is something that, you know, sometimes you don't have time to model a box and do everything in 3D and then render and, you know, do all kinds of things. What you need to do is just simply get the front and the sides of the design of the box, you know, and just map it here the way I've shown you, and just create a simple animation, you know, to save time. And so I've spent some more time here, you know, to create this, and you can study this one and create a cool animation. Also, the other thing I did was just go to hue saturation and just change the color, you know, that's it. Of course, these will be, you know, separate boxes of different colors and designs. Just wanted to show you, you know, like 3 different boxes. Okay, there's one thing that I completely forgot, which was to turn on the motion blur for the boxes. But that will go inside the box com itself. Now you go to precoms and box tuts, and we'll turn on the motion blur for all of them. Right, and now if we go to final tut, and then we turn on the motion blur, you'll see that is a cool animation. You can see the motion blur here. So let's see a preview. So as you can see with the motion blur, you know, the whole animation looks even better. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. Once again, my name is Shoaib Khan from Maxafter.com. Assalamu alaikum and peace be on all of you.